Okay, morning, afternoon, and evening. Today's session is going to be very, very powerful one because we have very two distinguished guests with us. So more later. Before that, we start with our birthday boy and girl. Manash and Anjali, happy birthday. And this is a song for you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Manesh and Anjali.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy
Thank you.
birthday, ma'am, sir.
Absolutely. Marvelous. But we are not hearing the audio, huh?
Yeah, Srinivas, the audio is not coming through.
Birthday song. Acha.
What, you can't hear?
No.
We can just see you drinking.
Oh, that I do it only in the evenings, my dear. Okay, I'll start again. Sorry for that.
That's okay. Momentum.
No problem. The song is very good, so we'd like to hear it.
Yes. Well, thank you so much.
Now? Can you hear? Can you hear?
Yeah.
मेरी यारा तेरी यारी पे दो जहां की खुशियां वारी है।
मेरे यारा तेरी यारी पे दो जहां की खुशियां वारी है।
हैप्पी बर्थडे ओ यार मेरे कहती ये दुनिया सारी है।
हैप्पी बर्थडे ओ यार मेरे कहती ये दुनिया सारी है।
तुझसे बढ़ कर के कोई ना दूजा है मेरा। तकदीर मेरी सवर गई जब तूने थामा हाथ मेरा। तेरे संग ही हंसना रोना है, तुझ पे कुर्बा जिंदगानी है। मेरे यारा तेरी यारी पे दो जहां की खुशियां वारी है। हैप्पी बर्थडे ओ यार मेरे कहती ये दुनिया सारी है।
Lovely. Happy birthday, Anjali.
Thank you so much,
Manash.
guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, sir. Happy birthday, ma'am.
Okay, now we'll move on.
Thank you.
Okay, today's one is on Haban. So let us hear what made her write this book.
Deaf blindness is a rare disability, so most of the time I'm the first person in a certain situation. So I'm used to being a pioneer. A lot of my friends know better than to tell me that I can't do something, because that's actually encouragement to try to find a solution. When I was in school, I had a teacher who trained me how to travel as a blind person. And I remember one of the lessons, she intentionally had me miss my stop so that I can learn how to problem solve when things go wrong. Many students with disabilities don't have access to information when they're in school, and we need to make sure the schools have access to accessible technology, have access to qualified teachers who can provide training. Deaf blindness is a spectrum. There are people with a limited vision and limited hearing, and we use a variety of different communication styles: sign language, print on palm. What I use primarily is a keyboard and digital braille display. So people will type on a wireless keyboard and I'll read in digital braille. Hello, it's good to meet you. Her job is to navigate around obstacles. I make the decisions, and she follows me.
That's the heaven. Milind, now
Wonderful.
you can start the session.
Thank you.
Deaf blindness.
So let me welcome all of you to this special session. Vinita, who is our reader for the month, has very thoughtfully selected this particular theme in keeping with the International Day of Persons with Disabilities that the world over is celebrated on December 3rd every year. So that was the reason. And we've heard Harbin just now. We will be hearing two other guest speakers in today's session, both Antara and later Geeta. And thinking of all of them, I feel like these are people with special or exceptional abilities. So I'm looking forward to listening to our guest speaker soon. But before that, I would like Vinita to introduce Antara to all of us. So go ahead, Vinita. Hello, Vinita.
Mute.
You might be on mute, Vinita.
Yes. Sorry, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Yes, so I said before I read this little brief on Antara, I'd just like to say that she was a student of mine and a very, very enterprising student. And I mean, I'm very happy that she did agree immediately when I spoke to her. She immediately said, "Why not, ma'am? I shall speak." So Antara graduated from St. Xavier's College. She is a partner at a marketing agency called Nothi Sutton and is based out of Bangalore. She loves doodling, eating, travel, animals, and the smell of fresh laundry in no particular order. Recently, I think she has been to, where was it? Meghalaya, I think, on her own. Solo trip. She does these solo trips too. Antara met with an accident. She wears a prosthetic leg and is a TEDx speaker. That's my small thing on Antara, and the rest is for Antara to tell us about herself and about her experience. A person who was totally, perfectly, what we call as abled, and suddenly because of an accident, and this can happen to any one of us. So, Antara, over to you.
First of all, I have to ask you, ma'am, how the hell did you find that picture?
I didn't. I was even going to ask, actually. Good you asked. I was also going to ask Milind how he found that pic, from where he found that picture.
I forgot that photo existed.
Yes, exactly. I was reminded of the time.
Yeah, I was like, wow, I looked like a very different person.
Well, let me extend a very special welcome on behalf of all of us to you, Antara.
Thank you.
And we are all ears to listen to you. Go ahead.
Okay, I feel very put on the spot right now, and Vinita ma'am is always extra kind while talking about me. So, so I think she set some of the context. So when I was in my so I grew up non-disabled. I lived a perfectly quote unquote normal life. When I was 18, which is around 14 and a half years ago, 24 July 2010, I met with a freak accident in Bombay itself, where a branch of a tree fell on me and both my legs got trapped under the branch. I fell down and both my legs got trapped under the branch. My left leg was broken, like I just had a fracture, but my right ankle was crushed sort of beyond repair. So after a lot of, and I lost a lot of blood, I lost consciousness. So I don't really have a memory of this. This is what I've been told by other people. Lot of discussions, days, conversations, number of procedures later, they basically, it was decided that the best course forward for me to live the most mobile life possible was to amputate my right foot a little bit below my knee. So yeah, that's when it kind of started. And I think the first couple of months, I was in a wheelchair, like the picture that you saw, maybe for a month and a half, maybe I was in a wheelchair. Post which I started sort of doing the measurements and the whole process of kind of getting a prosthetic leg. Since then, I have been using a prosthetic leg all these years. And like Vinita ma'am said, I live a very independent life. I live by myself here in Bangalore. I travel, not Meghalaya, I went to Arunachal actually.
Sorry.
But like I travel a lot. I travel by myself most of the time because I can't always find somebody to come with me. And I'm not going to hold off on my trips if I can't find company. I live here with my cat who's sitting right here. If anybody wants to see, I can hold her up for everybody. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to answer any specific questions if somebody has something to ask me, because otherwise it kind of just feels like I'm beating my own drum a bit if I'm saying, oh, I do all of these things. So yeah, yeah, if there's anything you want to know specifically, I'm happy to share.
I'll start out with a question for you. You were a student with uh, someone we consider a real scholar, Vinita. And what did you study while you were in Mumbai? And
Yeah.
how is that helping you now in Bangalore?
Yeah, so I did my BA from St. Xavier's. I had three subjects when I started out, which was sociology, anthropology, and English literature. I ended up doing a double major in English lit and sociology. So I think Vinita ma'am taught me through all my 3 years of college because I had socio and anthro both with her. I would say that like my degree is not, so right now I work in a marketing agency. So communications is also like a subjective field, right? It's not something, I don't believe that you can really study it because it changes so much with time. Like for example, right now there's literally we're talking about things like metaverse and things like that, which never even existed, 5 years ago. So I think the basis of what I do is understanding people, being able to write or like communicate with people, and sort of being quite critical of anything that comes my way. So marketing is, we're in a world where we're inundated with communications from all sides, right? Like we're on social media, we are on our phones half the time. There's so much information coming in, even on a WhatsApp or something like that. I think that critical lens of how I consume information, and then what I choose to put out in the world, how I form my opinions. I think a lot of that has been heavily influenced by my education at Xavier's, and including Vinita ma'am, I think, who continues to be a source of inspiration for me.
Great. Thank you. There's another question for you from Shankar. What was the subject of your TEDx talk that you delivered?
Yeah, so that was like many years ago, to be honest. I think my TEDx talk was in 2015 or something. So it's been coming on 10 years since I did that. But the topic of that was the 7 rules of disability. That was the title. And it was basically how I think, as a person who wasn't disabled and then became disabled, a lot of people just didn't know how to interact with me anymore. And I was like, I'm still the same person. Like my sense of humor or my intellect or my, the way I interact with the world has not changed. And especially a lot of new people who met me, and when they realized I have a disability, they almost became, see, she's creeping up into the frame. If you can see her, she's a little blurry, but
What's her name?
her name is Gehu. So yeah, I think that frustrated me a lot in the first few years, that people were sort of either not taking me very seriously or had a lot of preconceived notions or uh, assumptions when they were talking about me. So the topic of my TEDx talk was 7 rules of disability, where like, you don't have to assume all these, like a common like set of assumptions that I had been on the receiving end of. For example, that people with disabilities don't have romantic relationships. People with disabilities, like, you can't ask them about your disability, or for me, it's been two ends of the spectrum. Either people avoid the topic a lot, or they will ask me like insanely personal questions, like as though it's completely fine to, this thing. So people just don't know how to like draw a balance between that. A lot of things around like terminology. So using, I actually really hate it when people say, specially abled or differently abled, because honestly, I don't have any ability that like, is different in that sense. Uh, if anything, it's a disadvantage. Sorry. But it is a disadvantage, but I take it in my stride, and it's okay. We can just call a spade, right? Like, I don't think that we have to couch it in words like different ability or special ability, because I actually don't have any special abilities. I wish I did. Wish I had like developed some sort of superpowers when this happened to me, but I didn't. So I think some of the like aspects of just being a little bit more factual, being more honest, being more like comfortable with the discomfort of like, I think most of the time it comes from a lack of knowledge, right? Like, we may not have interacted with somebody who has a disability, so you don't know how to, you don't know what to do, you don't know what to say, you don't want to be offensive, you don't want to say something that might rub the other person the wrong way. I get that the intention is not always to offend, the intention is not bad, but at the same time, it's really irritating to be on the receiving end of it all the time from many different people. So yeah, that was kind of what it was about. Please
Okay.
don't watch it, I'm very embarrassed by it now.
There's another interesting thought from Sandeep, who also, like Venita, knows you very well. He says there was an experience that you went through while going through security at an airport. So would you like to share that with us?
Yeah, I think that's been a like a not an experience, but a series of many experiences over the years. Um, when which has gotten much better now, by the way. But in the first few years, I would say maybe the first 5, 7 years after maybe more than that, after I got my prosthetic leg, a lot of these normal situations that you go through without even thinking about it suddenly become extremely humiliating, challenging kind of things, not because of your own, lack of ability to do something, but because the system is so rigged against you in some ways. So almost always when I went through security, I was strip searched, um, pretty much every time. And I was asked to remove my leg. My leg was literally passed through, the security belt where people's purses and mobile phones and things are going. My leg was put through that, and I was sitting, sort of without my pants somewhere else. And it's a very humiliating experience to go through that over and over again, when I'm like, you don't even have suspicion that I've done something wrong to go to that point, right? Like, you've not even checked me in any other way. You're just assuming that somebody who has a disability, somebody who has a disability aid, is carrying some sort of contraband or an explosive or whatever. And that is like such a, you know what do you call it? Like, it's such an insulting way to just look at an entire class of people without any kind of, proof that we are more. And literally, people at security have told me, we caught this Chinese man who had a prosthetic hand and he had put drugs in his hand, and we got this and that. I'm like, why are you telling me this? Like, do you tell, like, do you tell everybody who passes through that, all the security threats that your airport has been through? Like, you look at me with this lens of suspicion. And that was very frustrating, to the point where I almost stopped traveling by plane unless I absolutely had to. Like, I would take long distance buses, I would take trains, like, just because I didn't want to go through that security experience for a long time. And I tweeted about it a lot. Like, I would try to write about it. I wrote a bunch of complaints because once I traveled abroad, and I didn't have to go through that at all. Like, there were checks in place where they do a pat down check, or they had a full body scanner. Indian airports don't have a full body scanner, but they somehow have money to build, like, terminals upon terminals to do like a museum inside the airport. They have all of that, but they don't have money for a full body scanner. So some of that just didn't make sense to me, right? I'm like, we're not like we're putting in so much money into aviation infrastructure in India, but you don't have money for this. And there were a lot of other people with disabilities who were also talking about this online and making a noise about it because everybody was just fed up. And then there was an amendment in the I want to call it the aviation law. I'm not sure exactly what the name of the law is. But so now actually in the last couple of years I have not been strip searched. They do have a machine with which they check you, and then only if that machine gives out a red flag, then they might ask you to do another, like do something do a strip search or whatever. But of course, you may not believe it, but I've never carried explosives with me on a flight, so I've never got to that second stage. So the last few years it's gotten a lot better.
Thank you so much for your very candid and detailed responses, Antara. That was
Right.
really a good interaction. I hope you will stay throughout the session so
Yes.
that we can talk with you during the open discussion segment at the end.
Sure.
But in the interest of time, we will move ahead for now. And
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Is there do you have in India any act protecting people with disabilities?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, there is.
you do?
There is the Rights of Person with Disabilities Act is there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Antara, hi, I'm Geeta Chauhan. मेरा एक क्वेश्चन है.
हाँ.
हेलो.
हाँ बोलिए.
जस्ट एक क्वेश्चन है. आपका जब एक्सीडेंट हुआ था और एक्सीडेंट होने के बाद जब पता चला कि आपकी लाइफ में चेंज आया है, तो उसके बाद उसको आपने कवर कैसे किया? देन आपको उस चीज को एक्सेप्ट करने में कितना टाइम लगा एग्जैक्टली?
मुझे लगता है अब तक मैं एक्सेप्ट कर रही हूँ. मतलब ऐसे एक मोमेंट नहीं था जब मैंने एक्सेप्ट किया, लेकिन मैं बहुत लकी थी कि मेरे फैमिली ने, मेरे कॉलेज ने, मेरे प्रोफेसर्स ने, मेरे फ्रेंड्स ने मुझे किसी ने मुझे ऐसा फील नहीं करवाया कि मैं अभी अब नॉर्मल हूँ, अभी कुछ बहुत वर्स्ट चीज हुई है मेरे साथ. एवरीवन वाज सो मैटर ऑफ फैक्ट कि अभी ठीक है, ये हो गया है, व्हाट डू यू नीड. एंड आई थिंक इवन जब मैं कॉलेज में थी, मैं फर्स्ट ईयर में थी, तभी मेरे प्रोफेसर्स ने, मेरे प्रिंसिपल ने ऐसे प्रोविजंस बनाए कि मैं घर से एग्जाम्स दे पाई. मैंने ईयर ड्रॉप नहीं किया, वो ईयर भी नहीं ड्रॉप किया मैंने. और मेरा फाइनेंशियल प्रिविलेज भी था कि मैं सारा ट्रीटमेंट, लेग, वो सब अफोर्ड कर पाई. तो आई थिंक दैट वेंट अ लॉन्ग वे, क्योंकि किसी ने मुझे ऐसे फील नहीं करवाया कि ओके यू कैन फील सॉरी फॉर योर सेल्फ फॉर टू लॉन्ग. अगर कंप्लेन करना है तो थोड़ा कंप्लेन करो और फिर बस ना मूव ऑन विद योर लाइफ. हमारे एक्सपेक्टेशंस डिफरेंट नहीं हो गए हैं. हम ऐसे नहीं एक्सपेक्ट करते कि अभी ये तुम्हारे साथ हुआ है तो यू विल नॉट हेल्प आउट इन द हाउस, यू विल नॉट बी देयर फॉर योर अदर फ्रेंड्स, यू विल नॉट तो मेरी लाइफ नॉर्मल सी पे बहुत जल्दी वापस आ गई इन दैट सेंस. तो फिजिकली ऑफ कोर्स थोड़ा टाइम लगा, लेकिन मेंटली आई थिंक वो मेरे पास बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग सपोर्ट सिस्टम था, एंड दैट मेड इट मच ईजियर फॉर मी टू एक्सेप्ट दैट ओके दिस इज हैपेंड एंड नाउ आई नीड टू live with it. Now what do I do, right? Can I just sit and cry forever? I can't. I have to like move on with my life. So yeah.
Thank you, Geeta ji.
Can I just add one thing? Antara has a very, very wonderful mother. Family.
Yes, I do.
Family is very, very nice. The mother is a wonderful lady who I've met so many times, and she has a wonderful sister who is also in Xavier's and who was also my student. Both of them are really very, very nice. And I mean, I really appreciate her mother for bringing up both these girls in the way they are.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, Vinita. And with that, in your current role as the Reader of the Month, we all want to hear what you would like to share with us by way of an overview of this theme that you have rightly chosen, and the guest who you brought along. So please go ahead.
Thank you. Can I get, yeah, okay. So like Rama had a little while ago said, what made me select this theme? So I'm starting with that itself. So when Milind requested me to be the ROM for December, Leader of the Month, and select a theme, I was in a fix. Did not know what kind of theme would appeal to management experts. When reading various book reviews, I came across a book that had received the Sahitya Academy Award. That was my eureka moment. The book was, oh, I forgot to fill this up, was the other book that I had recommended in the the book on the Indian girl who was basically
growing up lesbian and dyslexic in India.
Yes, right. Growing up, correct. It gave me my theme, and I began my search, and I chanced upon Haben. I went through it and was immediately able to relate with it. As an academician, I have worked with students and colleagues with physical and learning disabilities and seen their struggles. I suggested it to Milind, and he agreed. So now I give you that was the reason why I selected the book, and now I just go on to my little overview. Disability is part of being human. An estimated 1.3 billion people, which is about 16% of the global population, currently experience significant disability. What is disability? For most of us, it implies that what an individual can do or cannot do, or more simply, inability. The book Haben challenges this. Haben by Haben Girma is a memoir in which Haben Girma writes about her own lived experience of being born deaf and blind to two immigrants from Eritrea and Ethiopia. From a young age, Haben never let her disability get in the way of what she wanted. Her determination to explore the world led her to building a school in Mali and climbing an iceberg in Alaska. Through her own problem-solving skills, Haben overcame the roadblocks put in her way while obtaining her undergraduate degree and eventual law degree. Haben tells her story in a funny, uplifting, captivating, and warming way. She challenges the reader to rethink their. Can we move up the Milind? Can we?
Yeah.
I can't see the lower part. Yeah.
Srinivas, can the
No,
slide?
I think that must be in this
You
one.
can
right?
read the bottom from my screen.
Yeah, we can read Vinita.
You can.
It's a little bit clipped, but yeah, we can make out.
Okay.
To rethink their assumptions about disability and inspires them to create a more inclusive world for all.
Yeah. Okay. What I liked about this book was its conversational yet literary style. The way Haben has tried to overcome barriers, commenting upon how most of the barriers are socially constructed. She writes, communities designed with just one kind of person in mind isolate those of us defying their narrow definition of personhood. Later in the book, she says, I like my deaf-blind world. It's comfortable, familiar. It doesn't feel small or limited. It's all I've known. It's my normal. Then the third point was I was able to relate with so much of Haben's experiences as I have seen my colleague, Dr. Sam Tarapurwala, who is blind, negotiating with environmental factors such as negative attitudes and inaccessibility. When I read about Haben's tryst with Scribed, I was reminded of the struggle Sam and Xavier's Center for the Visually Challenged had with copyright laws in India so as to make books accessible. I would like to conclude with Haben's positive blindness philosophy, which is to change the dominant view of ableism. The idea that people with disabilities are inferior to the non-disabled, assumptions like disability is a tragedy, Disabled people are unteachable. It's better to be dead than disabled. It's only then that people can begin to lay the groundwork for a positive philosophy based on, again, I'm not able to read this for some reason. Can you just read it out, the last part?
No, now I can't read it either. Yes.
No, I can. It's better to be dead than disabled.
That's the last part, right?
No, there's another
No,
line.
it is only then that people.
Yeah, that's the point I was. Yeah.
Only then that people can begin to lay the groundwork for a positive philosophy based on the, I don't know.
Go to the next page.
Yeah. Okay.
Srinivas, is it visible to you?
Oh, I think I'm having a challenge. Let me do it again.
Okay. No problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you made it smaller, it was visible.
Yeah, when it was.
Take it off screenshot.
Yeah, it's only then that people can begin to lay the groundwork for a positive philosophy based on then that lower part is not coming.
I think you have to make it, don't go full screen.
If you put it on the smaller slide, then I can read it out.
Yeah.
Take it off screenshot.
No, can you read, Shankar?
No, you can't see it. Text.
To get off the full screen.
Yeah, get off the, there we can read. It is only then that people can begin to lay the groundwork for a positive philosophy based on the idea that blindness is nothing more than a lack of sight. Okay. Thank you so much, Vinita. Thanks to you, we have had eye-opening themes like caste earlier in our book club, and today another powerful theme. So I'm really grateful for the themes that you've brought to the forefront with this session. So with that, we can move on to a very thoughtful reflection from Sangeeta on the book. And she's really focused on the essence of the book and also shared her own thoughts after having read the book. So let's listen to her. Please go ahead, Sangeeta.
Thanks, Milan, and big thanks to Vinita for recommending this book, because I found it to be educating, engaging, and entertaining at the same time. As the first deafblind woman to graduate from Harvard Law, overcoming physical and social barriers, I want to say that Haben is inspiring, but she doesn't prefer to be called so. Her story is one of offering a lesson on how barriers, be they social, physical, or digital, can be overcome with tenacity, creativity, boldness, and advocacy. In the very first sentence of the book, Haben tells us that she is deafblind, framing it as a simple fact rather than an obstacle or an extraordinary feat to be admired. The matter of factness sets the tone for the entire memoir. For Haben, the deaf-blindness is simply a part of who she is, as intrinsic as her heritage. Her Eritrean name, meaning pride, encapsulates her self-awareness and the confidence with which she navigates the world. I found the book unfolded in vignette-like chapters that take us from her childhood, teenage years at school, young adulthood, and eventually her success at Harvard and as a disability rights advocate. Each chapter shedding light on her journey to independence and her fight for accessibility and inclusion. Born with residual hearing and vision, Haben could discern shapes and voices, but struggled with group conversations and facial cues. Despite these challenges, she never allowed her disabilities to limit her experience. Instead, she developed innovative methods to communicate, study, and advocate for herself and others. One of the striking aspects of the memoir is its vivid descriptions that completely engaged me into Haben's world. Her descriptions are richly immersive, from the cacophony of the college cafeteria to the sensory delights of her culture. In one particular account, she recalls her childhood in Eritrea playing games with neighborhood children, chopping meat with hilarious consequences. These early experiences instilled in her a sense of playfulness and boldness, traits that later defined her approach to life and advocacy. The other aspect that the book became so enjoyable is the wit and the humor that she displays while also displaying her strength. And examples of these include the hide and seek game of blind adults, climbing the glacier and her friend missing her video and asking her to do it again, the stories of her new guide dog shepherding her drunk friend back to his dorm. I found them exceedingly funny. Her sharp and funny retorts made me feel that this young, remarkable woman wears her success lightly. The next slide. Thank you. At the age of 15, Haben convinces her reluctant parents to let her join a school-building project in Mali, a pivotal moment that showcases her determination to break free from her protective constraints. Her vivid recounting of the trip, filled with sights, smells, and sounds of Mali, underscores her humor, her resilience, and her adaptability. She navigates new language, unfamiliar and harsh environment, hard physical work. She reflects on how the physical challenges of the project boost her confidence and lay the groundwork for her future independence. She goes to a college of her choice and is trying to work out what field and subjects interest her most. Confronted with the cafeteria's caterer who refuses to provide her with accessible menus, she does not back down. And after a failing tug-of-war situation, she does some research and writes him a letter saying, "I'm not asking for a favor. I'm asking for the bon appetit to comply with the law." The attitude she expresses there serves as the foundation for the attitude that will ultimately carry her through Harvard Law and into her work as a disability rights lawyer. That of never ever run from a bear, i.e. never ever run from your problems as they will chase you. Her time at Harvard Law School represents another defining chapter. With deteriorating hearing, she starts to feel isolated from her cohort. She comes up with a creative technology solution that helps her communicate through braille, computer, and wireless keyboards. Haben has never been shy of reaching out for social contact, making the first contact she now has a technology to help her. Haben's time at Harvard involves tackling rigorous coursework for which she leverages all the resources to students with disabilities. Her previous academic rigor grounding helps her cope with the grueling load, but at the same time, she also makes time to develop friendships and enjoy the campus with a much adored guide dog, as well as she copes very well with the disability challenges and graduates with a prestigious fellowship. After graduating from Harvard, Haben joins a disability law firm, disability rights law firm. She's very passionate about improving digital accessibility because she knows that how limiting the lack of digital access is for the blind. She makes a very strong contribution towards winning a landmark case for online access, for access to online content. The American Disability Act now applies to the digital world as a result of this case. Her passion for improving lives for those with disability through use of technology has won her global recognition from world leaders and has won her many accolades. Her accomplishments are remarkable. Named one of Forbes 30 under 30 and recognized by President Obama, she has become a global advocate for people with disabilities. Yet I felt the memoir is not about her accolades, it's about the everyday moments that shape a person's character and resolve. So whether it's sliding down the glacier in Alaska or building a school as a teenager or playing hide and seek at a blindness training center, her making of new friends, mastering salsa dancing, All these adventures convey a zest of life and a refusal to be limited by societal expectations. What I felt that sets this memoir apart is its humor and relatability. She invites the readers to laugh with her at the absurdities she encounters, such as a guide dog causing her to trip on their first day of training, or a creative attempts to navigate new social situations. Her wit and self-awareness make her story not just inspiring, but deeply human. The memoir also challenges ableism and societal preconceptions about disability. I knew I would have a problem with that word. Haben critiques the notion that disabilities inherently limit a person's potential, emphasizing instead the barriers created by inaccessible systems and attitudes. She advocates for a world where technology bridges gaps, creating opportunities for everyone. Her vision is one of inclusivity, where accommodations are not seen as favors, but as rights. One of the most human aspects of the book is also her relationship with her family. Her parents of Eritrean and Ethiopian heritage fled war-torn countries to build a new life in the United States. Their courage and resilience obviously has deeply influenced Haben, who draws parallels between her mother's flight to freedom and her own quest for independence. While their protectiveness sometimes clash with her desire for autonomy, their love and support remain a constant source of strength. Haben's memoir is more than a personal narrative. It's also sort of a call for action. It encourages us to rethink assumptions about disability and to recognize the systemic barriers that need to be dismantled. Through her advocacy, she has shown that disability is not a limitation, but a facet of diversity that enriches society. So even if Haben Girma does not want to be called inspiring, this young, remarkable person is just that.
Thank you very much, Sangeeta. I think you've read the book very closely and therefore have related all the highlights of the book that reminds many of us who loved the book why we actually liked it so much. So thank you for your very thoughtful reflection. And with that, we can go on to another reflection on a wider canvas, and you will see what I mean, from A.V. Suresh, who has also invited Geeta Chauhan, and more about that from him after he has shared his reflection. So please go ahead, Suresh.
Thanks, Milan, and thanks for giving me this opportunity to share my experience and thoughts. It looks like whenever Vinita is the leader of the month, I become a reflector, because I was a reflector with her for a book cast also. That's because I respect Professor Vinita as a person of intellect and a lot of abilities. First of all, I'm sure Tarang will sort of understand what I'm trying to say, or rather reflect more on what I'm going to say, because Antara, what she said, also has a lot of practical implications on day-to-day life for such people. First of all, like she said, people are to be addressed as not differently able or specially able. All of us are disabled in different ways. Maybe I can't lift my arm above this. That's a disability for me. They prefer to say blind instead of visually impaired. All of us wear glasses, which means you're also visually impaired, or deaf instead of hearing impaired. I'm sure you understand what I mean. There are different types of disabilities. It can be physical, mental, or functional. Very often, we also fall into one of these. There are different levels like low, medium, high, and severe. Hence, each person's disability has to be shown the path of what is possible for them. Typically, for high and severe, they cannot go out much, and hence they are trained and educated in shelter homes. The low and medium can be educated through inclusive schools. Not many schools, not many colleges accept this. I'm happy Vinita had the opportunity to work with such people, because that's a different opportunity altogether. The biggest challenge is acceptability. It's better they go to inclusive schools to open up, provided the students around them are trained to treat them equally. Even in employment, The co-workers are to be sensitized to deal with people with disabilities. I'm sure that Antara would agree that in her organization, people need to be sensitized first before they start looking at working in that place. So on the whole, it's a question of how much opportunities we provide and where they can go. Next slide, guys. Most important thing for people with disabilities is parental support and understanding. They need to support the children with disabilities to achieve their passion and aspirations. Like Vinita said, Antara's mother and sister must have played a great role in inspiring her and making her lead a normal life. Typically, parents hide the children with disabilities, especially mental disabilities, making it impossible for them to progress. They do not realize who's there for them after they pass away, who will take care of them. Hence, sensitizing parents and counseling for parents is a very important step towards inclusivity. Hence, by thereby making them independent is a key task for the future. As Haben says, ability is never the barrier. The barrier is society and expectations. Community practices exclusion, never the disability or the gender that holds the people back. All the barriers that exist are created by people. We need to choose to eliminate these barriers of inclusivity and accessibility. Like Evan says, communities and governments, institutions have to remove the barriers. Looking at it in Indian context, like I think Dwarkaraj, is there a legal rule or a law for people with disabilities? Yes, Dwarka, Suresh Dwarka, it's there. But the point is, it's not implemented in even a small bit. I just recently met 3 days back a person who's been designated or started as a secretary for the Ministry of Disabilities in Bombay, in Maharashtra. They started a ministry. But you'll be surprised to know that to access that Ministry of Disabilities, there's no ramp, there's no slope. A person in wheelchair can never reach there. So that's the level of understanding, empathizing with such people. In Rotary, we have been working on accessibility, but could never progress much due to inherent constraints. For anything you need to do in a public place, you need BMC, government approvals, which is never given. Though we still keep trying. Mumbai roads do not have a footpath. There is a huge gap between the ground and the first step in the bus. How will a person get up? Even a person of regular ability is difficult to get up. A huge gap between platform and train. How can they ever use these public facilities if we don't put them to their ability and what we can remove as barriers to accessibility? We lack the basic amenities. Even for a person like you or me, it's a major task to walk on the road or board a train or bus or even cross the road. Now, most of you from US who come here, when you say, Harry, I'm scared to cross the road. Is there any other way of doing it? Though you have lived all along during your childhood there. These are some fundamental basic amenities one must provide. There's no dearth of money. There's adequate money of the government. There's enough taxes collected. All of us contribute towards the money in the kitty. But it's just sheer lack of understanding, will, and resolve. The day the government and the institutions and people like us start realizing this, I'm sure things will change. It's different. I'm sure it's quite different and better in many other developed countries. Like in US, I've seen most places have accessibility for people with wheelchairs in many other underdeveloped countries. Like in Indonesia or Thailand, I've seen places which are really accessible for people. Next, please. I work along with many NGOs in this space personally, and I have a platform called Able to Ability to bring together various NGOs working with people with disabilities. It's a platform to share and synergize between them because typically the NGOs work in their own islands. They do what they are doing, but they never interact or they sort of share their synergy across. This has helped in multiple ways of synergy and co-working between them. Some of them focus on vocational training and get them employed. Just 4 days back, we visited a foundation called Mount Foundation. They have employed 350 people with mental challenges in various hospitality industries and even in places like Amazon and Flipkart for packaging, etc. Some have shelter training and life care homes, especially for people who have severe disabilities. Through Rotary, we had an excellent program called Samavesh, where we had 150 people with disabilities showcasing their amazing talents and abilities in music, dance, you won't believe it, fashion show, ramp walk with Miss India and Miss Maharashtra on their wheelchairs, sports, like we have Geeta who plays basketball, watched by more than 500 people. This was to sensitize and create awareness amongst the common public. Iranki and Sujata were also there. We also had a wheelchair cricket match recently, and now with the help of Geeta, we're looking at organizing a wheelchair basketball match. We also work on providing accessibility by getting an awareness program on providing ramps and facilities for accessibility in common places. People with disabilities often say, we don't need your sympathy, we don't need your money. All we're asking for is accessibility, inclusivity, acceptability, and equal opportunities. This is the main thing which we can provide. And each one of us have to contribute in our own way. We're spreading this message by making our friends, our relatives, our families understand the basic needs of these persons with disabilities. In spite of all these challenges and barriers, there are some people like Haven who break the barriers and Antara and Geeta who have broken the barriers and have confidence, courage, and conviction in themselves more than anything else, and set out to achieve their aspirations and passion. One such example is Geeta Anu Chavan, who's there with us today, and I got to know her through this platform, Able to Ability. To give you a brief introduction to her, can you get on the slides and give her present? I think
Suresh, if you can please keep the introduction brief so that we get to listen to her and ask her questions too.
Yes, headmaster, shall do. So Geeta Chowni, keep rolling the slides, Yanks, I tell you. She got into the disability at the age of 6 because of polio. And she was not admitted into many private schools because they said we don't take such people. So she went through her schooling in public school, but later completed her graduation from NMIMS in Bombay. Keep rolling, ranks. It's not just education. Through her own determination, efforts, and love for sports and games, she has been representing India and herself in multiple international tournaments and has won tournaments across the world in Thailand, in India, in Europe, and many other places. Keep rolling. She also is a Paralympic champion in terms of mobility through wheelchairs. She's the top Indian wheelchair runner. I would call them runner because run with the wheelchairs. She's won the gold medal for that. She's won many other events across the country, and she's known popularly as Anu. And what is different from her is that when you speak to her, as you would like to see her now, you will see that she has so much of confidence and she will tell us what she has accomplished through her own will and determination. Over to Anu, she has been an inspiration, a passionate person, and a proud athlete, a winner all the way. Over to you, Anu.
Thank you, Suresh. Geeta ji, आप बोलिए.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
अभी right now I'm a captain of the Indian wheelchair basketball team और national level athletic player हूँ. So sports में आने के बाद मेरी life काफी change हुई है. In fact मैंने sports काफी late start किया है because of आपको पता है कि पैरा स्पोर्ट्स को उतना अवेयरनेस नहीं है और उतना सपोर्ट भी नहीं है. सो मैं आपको एक चीज शेयर करनी चाहूंगी कि पैरा एथलेटिक इनफैक्ट मेरे फर्स्ट नेशनल से लेके खेलो इंडिया के मेडल तक में सबसे बड़ा सपोर्ट रोटरी क्लब का रहा है, सुरेश सर का रहा है और राजेंद्र उन्नीतिशन, श्रुति मैम. रोटरी क्लब ने मुझे बहुत बड़ा सपोर्ट दिया है मेरे नेशनल लेवल को मुझे इंटरनेशनल लेवल तक लेके जाने के लिए. इनफैक्ट मुझे खेलो इंडिया में भी उन्होंने सपोर्ट किया और आज मैं आपके सामने हूँ यहाँ पे अपनी लाइफ शेयर करने की कोशिश कर रही हूँ, मेरी जर्नी. इनफैक्ट मैंने बहुत यहाँ तक पहुँचने के लिए स्ट्रगल किया, बट विदाउट रोटरी क्लब, विदाउट सुरेश सर, इट्स नॉट इजी फॉर मी. मेरे लिए हार्ड है बिकॉज काफी इक्विपमेंट, काफी चीजें एक्सपेंसिव है, सो खुद से मैनेज करना इजी नहीं है और मेरा फाइनेंशियल कंडीशन इतना स्ट्रांग नहीं है कि मैं अकेले ही सरवाइव कर लूँ. सो थैंक यू सो मच सुरेश सर. 2017 से मैंने स्पोर्ट्स स्टार्ट किया था. तो उस वक्त जब स्टार्ट किया तो हमारे पास ना कोर्ट था, ना बास्केटबॉल व्हीलचेयर्स अवेलेबल थे, फाइनेंशियली भी कंडीशन नहीं थी. बट हमारी टीम 2-4 डिसेबिलिटी अलग अलग थी. सो हमारे कोचेस थे, उन्होंने सपोर्ट किया और उन्होंने गाइड किया कि हमें ऐसा ऐसा व्हीलचेयर पे खेलना है। सो मेरे लिए थोड़ा ऑकवर्ड था, बिकॉज डर था कि ऑलरेडी कंडीशन खराब है और कुछ इंजरी हो गया, यानी कुछ उल्टा इफेक्ट हो गया, सो मेरे लिए मुश्किल हो जाएगा, क्योंकि फ्यूचर में कोई मुझे देखने वाला है नहीं है। वो सब भी थोड़ा सा इजी नहीं था मेरे लिए। बट जब कोचेस ने हमें गाइड किया, सो मैंने स्टार्ट कर लिया। स्टार्ट करने के बाद इंटरेस्ट आने लगा, इंजॉय करने लगी मैं गेम को, बिकॉज ऑफ बचपन में मुझे खेलने ही नहीं मिला आम लोगों के साथ, बच्चों के साथ। तो सो वो एक मेरा पैशन कहीं ना कहीं दबा था, और उससे मैं बाहर आई और मैंने टोटली अपने आप को स्पोर्ट्स में इन्वॉल्व कर लिया। खेलती रही, एंजॉय करने लगी। 2017 में हमने फर्स्ट नेशनल खेला, उसमें एक भी मैचेस हमने नहीं जीते, एक भी नहीं। बट एक्सपीरियंस मिला मेरे लिए, मेरी लाइफ का पहला एक्सपीरियंस था वो। बट जब मैं एक मैच के दौरान मैं गिर गई थी। गिरने के दौरान मैं 2 मिनट के लिए ऑलमोस्ट बेहोश हो गई, कि मैं डर गई थी कि अगर ऐसी चीजें हो रही है तो अगर टीम में एक स्ट्रांग प्लेयर अगर नहीं रहा, मतलब नहीं गिर गिर गया, तो 4 प्लेयर लोगों के लिए इफेक्ट पड़ता है स्पोर्ट्स में हमारे। सो मेरे लिए काफी टफ था वो। स्टार्ट होने के बाद मैंने जब स्टार्ट किया, वो आने के बाद मैंने बॉम्बे में स्टार्ट करके प्रैक्टिस शुरू की। गिरना उठना, फिर गिरना उठना। सो उस पर काम करने के बाद में आज हम मैच के दौरान हम गिरते हैं, देन उसके बाद हम उठ के खुद एक दूसरे के सपोर्ट से खुद उठ जाते हैं। सो वो एक अच्छा था, बिकॉज मेरे एक्टिव होने के बाद काफी लोगों ने इस चीज पे काम करने की कोशिश की, और आज काफी वुमेन्स इजीली गिरने के बाद खुद उठती है और खुद आके कंटिन्यू खेलने की कोशिश करती है, ऐसा। सो 2018 में मैंने जो नेशनल पॉपर्स खेला, उसमें हमने नेशनल में महाराष्ट्र वुमेन्स ने गोल्ड मेडल विन किया। देन उसके बाद आगे 2019 एंड 2023 और 24 लास्ट हम नेशनल में 4 टाइम गोल्ड मेडलिस्ट है।
थैंक यू। बहुत अच्छे। So
I'd like to just add a couple of sentences. Geeta is an honorary Rotarian also. The Rotary Club of Ghatkopar West has made her an honorary Rotarian. So she's Rotarian Geeta Chavan. One. And second thing, in spite of her challenges, she travels everywhere alone. She doesn't need anybody to come along. She packs a wheelchair. She moves around independently without any support anywhere. Thanks, Geeta. Thank you for joining. She's supposed to have gone this
Thank
morning
you so
for
much, sir.
national selection
thank
at
you
Pune.
very much.
I made her stay back just to listen to you all and also for you all to ask your questions and say that all of us support you, Geeta, to have a fantastic future ahead and we will be there with you till the end. Yeah?
Thank you
And
very
maybe
much.
Yanks could generally talk about his feelings when he was there in Samavesh, what exactly he went through.
Yeah, sure. We can listen to Srinivas, but I was wondering if anybody has any questions for Geeta. Please go ahead. She's an exceptional athlete, as you can tell. So if there are any questions for her.
मुझे एक चीज समझ नहीं आई गीता, कि आप बोल रहे हो कि आप ट्रेवल अकेले करते हो, तो ये मुझे समझ नहीं आती। अकेले ट्रेवल कर सकते हैं तो फिर उसमें आपको व्हील चेयर क्यों लेके जाने की जरूरत है साथ
सर अगर जनरली तो स्टार्टिंग में फैमिली अलाउ नहीं कर रही थी अकेले घूमने के लिए। फिर ये रहा कि जब हमने स्पोर्ट्स में आने के बाद सबसे पहला हमारा प्लस पॉइंट ये रहा कि हम खुद पर डिपेंडिंग हो गई है, बिकॉज ऑफ फैमिली का हर मेंबर या ऑलवेज हमारे साथ कोई ना कोई नहीं रहेगा। सो वो थोड़ा मुश्किल था। बट हम जब स्पोर्ट्स में स्पेशली सर फ्लाइट रहेगा तो हम ट्रैवल कर पाते हैं, ट्रेन में भी ट्रैवल करते हैं। बट हमारे साथ अगर हम स्पोर्ट्स के लिए जा रहे हैं तो हमारे पास स्पोर्ट्स व्हीलचेयर अलग होती है। देन हमारे पास लगेज वगैरह होता है। सो काफी हैवी चीजें होने के बाद इजी नहीं होता है मैनेज करना। और फिर हम किसी और को लेके जाएंगे तो उनका एक्सपेंसिव बेयर करना पड़ेगा, तो वो भी एक ये है। अब अभी तक तो सर मैं आज तक तो अकेले ही ट्रैवल कर रही हूँ, मोस्टली मुंबई मुंबई के बाहर अदर स्टेट एंड अदर कंट्री ऑफ द मैं खुद पर डिपेंडिंग होके जा रही हूँ। और व्हीलचेयर सर, जैसे आपने बताया कि व्हीलचेयर से हम क्यों लेके जाते हैं। सर व्हीलचेयर में हमारी लाइफ बहुत ईजी हो जाती है, खुद पर डिपेंडिंग होते हैं। अगर मैं ये क्रचेस लेके वॉक करूँ तो मुझे एक बैग उठाने के लिए भी किसी और पे डिपेंड रहना पड़ेगा। तो ये चीज से मेरे घर पे भी होती है। मेरा घर काफी चौल एरिया में है और काफी अंदर है। तो मुझे घर से बाहर जाने के लिए क्रचेस पे जाना होता है। देन मैं बाहर व्हीलचेयर निकाल के उस पे बैठ के फिर अपना जा सकती हूँ। बट घर से बाहर जाने के लिए भी मुझे फैमिली पे डिपेंड रहना पड़ता है कि वो मेरे बैग्स वगैरह मुझे बाहर छोड़ दे, उसके बाद ही मैं जा पाती हूँ। इनफैक्ट कभी मॉर्निंग में अगर 6 बजे मुझे निकलना है तो लोगों को डिस्टर्ब करना पड़ता है, फैमिली को। सो ये थोड़ा सा बुरा लगता है कभी कभी खुद से, बिकॉज बाकी सारी चीजें तो मैं इजीली खुद से कर लेती हूँ।
Thank you.
Srinivas, you want to share anything briefly?
Yeah, Suresh invited me for one of the sports event of the Rotary, and myself and Sujata went there. See, the point is that we all are aware of the challenges these people face, and we have to be inclusive. It all sounds nice and good, but actually, in reality, you don't spend any time to be with them. So I think I have to thank Suresh for insisting that you should come and then actually interact with the people. And I'll be very brief, but then it was really an eye opener. It was so much of fun, so much of joy, and they're playing amazingly well, and they're talented. They're like you and me. I mean, like Suresh said, it's not different. I mean, it's just that we keep seeing their legs or their limbs or their other things. And the minute that you stop looking like that, like the way we used to have gender bias, we have caste bias, this also is somewhat like that. They're also like you and me. There's no difference. They're also cracking the same jokes. They're also doing the same thing. They're also eating the same thing. So they're like us. I mean, that I think I had to thank him, and then we make it a point to go to any of such things that Suresh leads. And I think we all should do, and then just understand so that we know that they are no different from us.
Right. Thank you very much. So if there are any other questions for Antara or for Geeta from all of you, this is another opportunity before we go to the next segment.
I have a question to Antara and Geeta as well. So Antara rightly said that, people are awkward when they are faced with you and they don't know how to react and what to say. Is there a right way to do this, Antara? Because it's something that would really help all of us.
I would ask that question back to you. Like, what is the right way to interact with you? If I meet you, what is the right way
Normally,
to interact with
absolutely
you?
normally.
That's your answer.
No, good. That's what we clear. That's really what I would expect.
Yeah, I don't think that all people with disabilities can have a blanket statement that, this is the correct way, this is the wrong way. I might have a
Antara,
preference.
it's
Geeta might
okay
have a
to
different
offer to
preference.
help out, yeah? Even
I-
though you want to be treated as normal, suppose I find that somebody's having a difficulty, I guess it's okay to help out, right? Just like you'd help a normal person.
Of course, like that's what, but the point is not to not help.
But we're not taking,
right?
people should also
Right.
appreciate we're not taking pity on you.
Right.
We're just
So
trying to help
I
out,
think
right?
I think the what it boils down to, like you would with anybody else, is to ask rather than assume. So like if you think that somebody is struggling, for example, I know a lot of blind people have this frustration that like when they're trying to cross a road or there's something, someone will just grab their hand and start, trying to cross the road with them. Now, there is a question of consent there, right? Like you at least have to ask that person, hey, do you want to cross the road? Should I hold it? Sometimes the person doesn't even want to cross the road. They're just standing over there and somebody's just starting to do that. So don't touch somebody. Don't touch somebody's possessions without asking them. Don't help someone without asking them if they want help. That's not to say don't help someone at all, right? It's just about like how you do it. And like you said, like you would with anybody else, right? You may see somebody struggling, they drop something, they're carrying a lot of things. You may say, hey, do you want me to pick that up for you? It's just the same thing. Like it's not any different. It's maybe the circumstances a little bit different, but the intention and the way you express that intention doesn't have to be different at all.
Very, very, very
By
good.
the way, one trivia, today's Financial Times crossword, the answer to the clue is prosthesis.
Oh, I set it in
This is today's. Today is Friday right now, but Saturday's FT crossword, which I unfortunately have to do. Yeah.
Great.
Totally irrelevant factoid.
Thank you for your thoughtful questions for both our guests. We will have an open discussion.
Hey, go Geeta, go. Okay, we want you to win.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm just going to be very brief. I first want to compliment both our outstanding achievers who've given their time to come and talk to us and make us aware of what the challenges are and how they have capably converted those challenges into ability. And this came to me very powerfully years ago in the form of Eric Weinmeier, about whom my mother had written an article. And to the point that Antara was trying to make, this is a blind person who was able to conquer all 7 summits that are the highest mountain peaks on the 7 continents. And while maybe 100 plus other people have accomplished that feat, Eric Weinmeier is the only completely blind person since birth who has been able to accomplish this feat of conquering all 7 peaks. So I found that very revealing. I called it the power of disability. And I'll leave for you to watch an interview with him on YouTube to get the answer to where he found the courage, confidence, and the love of adventure that explain his ascents. But even before that, from today's outstanding achievers and speakers, both Antara and Geeta, I think you have more than a good idea about what the answer would be for how they accomplish the things that they continue to accomplish. And I thought, what better time to talk about Eric Weinmeier, who has stayed with me through all these years since I was first introduced to him, that the discussion we are having on Haben, the deaf-blind woman who conquered Harvard Law, and the unique achievements of both Antara Telang, our guest speaker, and the exceptional athlete who joined us today, Geeta Anu Chauhan. So please join me in cheering for them and to wish them every success as they courageously keep climbing to add achievements as they progress through their life. A small quote that I'm reminded of from the Srimad Bhagavatam that is to the point, which says, Mukang karoti pachalam, pangum langhayate girim. I remember with devotion the divine grace of God who can make the mute speak with eloquence and the lame cross high mountains. So with that thought, let me stop there and let's get on with the open discussion. And all the best to Antara and Geeta from all of us in whatever you do in your long life ahead. Thank you.
Very good.
Okay.
So any thoughts on the theme today from any of you? This is our open discussion segment.
It was good. It was good.
Milind, if I may, there's Danku here.
Yeah, sure. Abhay, go ahead.
So back after a long time, very happy to be here. And it's really amazing to hear everybody, especially Antara and Geeta. And I think what I'm taking away here, as far as I'm concerned, is that, look, I have a lot to learn. And I have a disability, how to react to people with the so-called difference and what to do, what not to do. It's very natural for us to feel bad. it's very natural for us not to know how to react. And I think listening to both Antara and Geeta has taught me many things and possibly helped me as a person. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Abhay. And it's good to see you back at the club. I hope we continue to see you every month.
Yes.
Uh,
Thank you.
welcome.
So, but Tanku, why is your camera off?
Good question. Okay. Before I ship out, let me, I have to rush out in a minute, but there you go.
Good. Nice
Great to see you guys.
Suresh, I really liked your point about everybody being disabled in some way or the other. I think that was a very powerful statement from you, and I think that's a recognition that we all need to come to grips with when trying to understand and deal with people who maybe have more obvious disabilities than we might have. I think it's really powerful. It's really set me thinking, and maybe I'll reach out to you separately or something else that I have on my mind. Wonderful, really wonderful, Suresh.
If any of you like to support or help these people, also it'll be great. Like they all are looking for support.
No, that's exactly what I have in mind, and I'll chat with you.
Wheelchair, for example, what Geeta uses costs about 80,000 rupees.
Right.
It's a special wheelchair for the sports with maneuverability. So then she has to crowdfunding, she has to approach the Rotary Club. But they're doing it. What I really appreciate, I've worked with many of them. There's another wheelchair cricket captain who also I tried getting today, Rahul. He's again of international fame. There's another person who's a HR head in one of the BP company in UK. So there are the multiple people who have achieved many things. It's their own sheer determination, Sharad. Mainly, it's the individual determination. And I've also seen people who have given up everything in life because they think, "Arey, this happened to me, what do I do?" Ivantara, what she is today is because she took up the challenge that point of time. Yes, fine, it happened to me. It's just bad luck. It's fine. So what? Let's keep moving. That's a spirit which we need to really have. And in our own families, we have found our children, grandchildren, nephews, nieces, so many of them who succumb to things and give up things. But how we can support them to accomplish their aspirations is what all of us should look at in our own small way. I'm not saying anything major, you can adopt someone like that or anything like that, but yeah, it's good. And I really meant it. Sharath, I can't lift my arm beyond that. When I walk, I say,
No,
okay, I can do that.
very valid point. Very valid point. That's why I'm saying struck home. Really struck home.
And all of us are visually impaired because without this, you can't be.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think I liked.
And Antara, do you agree with what I'm saying? All of us are impaired.
More or less.
You
I
can see
don't, I
all
think
the
it,
old people here.
I think it's a slight oversimplification, but I agree with the thought. I do think that, like, for example, like the glasses thing, so I also do wear glasses. It's so normalized because so many of us have bad vision that it's not a disability anymore because you can just walk down the road and get glasses. You can, if you have glasses, nobody's like, "Oh my God, you have glasses. Are you okay?" Like, forget that reaction. So, sure, if you have to break it down into that, yes. But in terms of your lived experience, you don't actually experience life as a person with a disability in the real sense because there is no stigma, there is no inconvenience, there is no financial burden in that sense. Like my prosthetic leg costs like 5 lakhs. That's not an amount that most people in India can afford, right?
Oh,
Like I can afford it because, like I said, I do have that financial privilege. But that, I can't. There is a little bit of. I think, yeah, sure. Like it's a good intention to say that, yeah, in some ways we all have to think that we have something or the other that's not perfect about our bodies. But I think the scale of disability and this thing is so wide. Like, and again, like even for me, like mine is not so bad, right? There are people who are fully paralyzed. I mean, I can't tell them I travel alone to Arunachal. Why can't you? If I'm disabled and you're disabled, the scale of disability is very different. So I think we all exist on a spectrum, and that like we shouldn't oversimplify some of. It's not us and them, it's a spectrum.
Yes.
Everybody within different like levels of disability.
I really appreciate your comment, Antara, because like Abhay said, Until this session, I personally was not aware about how much more we need to learn in terms of the challenges and how all of you who achieve, in spite of those challenges, you move forward with so much energy. So that is really remarkable and that is inspiring.
Antara, in terms of processes, there is a trust, again, a Rotary trust called Ratnanidhi Trust.
Yeah,
We
I'm
provide processes across the country free of cost. They do a camp, you go in, you give all your dimensions, completely CAD/CAM oriented, and they get. So, in case you have any people requiring processes, we could certainly help out in that. They
yeah,
do it
I
absolutely
think,
free of cost.
yeah. I'm aware of this, but I
In
haven't.
case you know anybody who
Yeah,
needs it, we'd be happy to help out. You can touch base with Vinita if she'll have my number. Yeah.
yes.
I think the other point, which is very valid point made by you, Antara, again, which is on the, I don't think it's a question of resources, it's a question of prioritization and spending them in the right place, like your example of airport facilities. Right? These are all things that if you focus on them, allocate the right resources and do the right thing, I think there is a lot that can be done. It's a prioritization that is very important. Therefore, bringing this to the attention, like even for me, this has been an eye-opener. Thank you very much for all that you've said.
Yeah, I think listening to Antara and then reading Haben, the very simple thing that she talked about not finishing the homework in the beginning, because he was looking elsewhere when he was saying the homework, and it just struck me as we take things for granted, right? And just being aware of things around us, that's, yeah, I think, whatever the ability is.
Absolutely. Thank you, Anu. Yeah, we just need to be aware and need to respond accordingly. Yes. Any
Yeah, it struck a chord when Antara talked about the airport experience, that yeah, as much as everything has to be as normal as possible, you don't, go to extraordinary lengths to make it inconvenient for everybody, right?
But like Antara said, no, things have improved over the last 2, 3 years. Like you go to Mumbai airport, for example, there's separate access, separate parking bay, and there's somebody there right there to assist you, right, Antara, to take you inside. All those things are changing. I mean, slowly changing, but yeah, it is changing.
I don't use some of those facilities, to be very honest, because I have no issue with my mobility. So,
No, I'm talking about others who are
yeah,
possible.
I know. So I'm saying I'm not always aware about some of these other things, but definitely at airport security experience has improved. Blanket statement I can make in the last like 3, 4, 5 years, something like that. I've not had to strip even once. Or sometimes the official will ask me to, and then I'll tell them, no, this is the process. And then they'll go check with the senior, and then they'll come back and be like, you're right, that is the process. So it's not like everyone always knows, but definitely the experience has changed. And awareness of it for me to assert my own like thing to say, hey, I know what the process is. You can't, do this. That also goes a long way. I think if I didn't know, then maybe I would have also like still had to strip because I didn't know what the current provision is supposed to be.
Thank you, Antara.
There's a
Suresh,
very
you are
simple, Suresh, Milind, I just want to say something.
Yeah,
There are
sure.
sometimes very simple things, but uh, we people, I mean, so-called people who are living in the so-called able world, we do not realize the problems that they are faced simply because society has not been sensitive towards the needs so as to allow for full scale participation of every kind of individual in society. So like even Haben had said, and something which I had spoken to my colleague about was like an accessibility to books. The blind, we say, okay, they have the the what is it called?
Vinita, we cannot hear you. I think you got
Really?
disconnected.
No, it's not on.
Books. We can hear you.
Yeah.
We can
We
hear,
can hear.
Milan. We can hear.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Maybe my internet connection.
Yeah.
I mean, earlier on, it was also a question of, allowing, getting copyrights to be able to convert the books into Braille. Now, even with digital technologies available, very often, I mean, they should be legally allowed. Illegally, you can do many things, but legally, the permissions are required. And that now has, because of, like what I was saying, the advocacy which some of the organizations took up, and today the books are available. But this was also not something which was available till it was brought to the notice, and the people had to go through a struggle to get that copyright. And of course, I mean, I think it was Sage which was the first one to allow, give permission to convert books into soft copies and all that.
Thank you, Vinita. Suresh, Divakar, and Abdul, you haven't spoken much today. So if you had any comment or question, go ahead.
Abdul, mic is
My
up.
only comment is
Oh, you
this.
got it.
In India, we pass laws, okay? We have a number of laws in place, which implemented. For example, we have a Guest Control Act in India. I don't know any one of you remember that act. Okay, like in a wedding, how many people can be invited? There is a law which prohibits the number that can be invited. There is a prohibition of Dowry Act. It's never implemented. So yes, it is one, we think that once we pass a law, we have accomplished everything that we need to do. The devil is always in the details. Okay. It is not only in public places, even shopping areas and so on in the US, you have to provide access for everybody equally. Otherwise, they are not allowed to function. We have not implemented any of that in India. And I understand it will take time. I'm glad that things are moving in the right direction, but I think we need to do a whole lot more.
I agree. Yes.
Okay.
We are quite behind, so to say,
Yes.
many other countries on that dimension.
Yeah, I need to leave. Thank you all.
I planning to leave as well, yeah.
Vinita, tell me when you are the next ROM, I shall be the reflector.
Thank you, Suresh, for your contribution.
Bye.
Thank you.
And
Nice seeing you all.
once
Bye,
again,
Antara.
a big thank you to Antara for sharing all your thoughts with us.
Thank you,
And
Antara.
hopefully you will visit our club some other time again. Okay.
Vinita ma'am has to invite me to that one.
I'm sure she
She'll
will.
invite you to all the clubs.
Yeah,
Thank
from
you,
me,
Antara.
that is
Thank you.
an open invitation, but then it is finally up to Milind and Inanki to do.
You are
You
always
can join,
welcome.
instead, you can join the book club, Antara. You're most welcome to join the book club
Yes,
and
absolutely.
participate in every session.
Yeah. Even if you don't read the book, you're always welcome to come and join us and
Like I don't
listen
read
to our
books.
thoughts.
Like many of us.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Good.
See you all.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Good to see all of you. Take
Thank
care.
you, Manian. Thanks,
And
everybody.
see you in January.
Bye.